Hello students, good morning. Welcome to Unacademy YouTube. I hope you all are doing great. So today we are going to do a revision and one shot on the demographic structure chapter. And as you know that we have already completed this in on the Plus platform. I have also taken one revision on the special class, and because you guys a class on this chapter on YouTube, so we start today. Please feel free to ask if you have any questions, and I will cover them all. Okay. Hi, Aman. Good morning, beta. So, yes, till the time others are joining in, let me quickly give you a review and so the Unacademy Plus subscription features, of course, you know that you get the notes, you get the PDF, you have mentorship and guidance from the best people on board. You will have special writing sessions, and like I told you, we take the revisions also. Yes, I'm taking the revision of the demographic chapter one more time, where I have already taken this for a special class and the Plus platform. You have daily practice sections, you have mock test, and there's a new feature of live quiz, which you guys are knowing. There's one iconic subscription feature which is already there in the net, and you can just download the same from the learning app. As I can see, many people are joining in. Sorry. Hi Gitanjali, I'm doing good, beta. I hope you're doing great as well. Thanks for asking. All right. So moving back, along with the iconic subscription, you have already the batches for 2021 for the Science and Commerce Complete Syllabus, which has already started. There's a duration of 8 months, and the timetable you guys know. All right. Uh, Along with this, you also have the Class 11 Science batch of NCRT, along with the weekend batch in English and Hindi. Okay. Hi Ankit. Hello beta. Good afternoon. Welcome to the class. There are commerce batches. There are also batches for Let's Crack final exams for 11th and 12th for commerce, also in English and Hindi. And yes, there are batches for humanities also in of class 11th in English and Hindi. And as you can see here, yes, so that's me. I'm taking sociology as well as psychology for class 11th and 12th. There is a timetable which is already given, so we have this timetable from Monday to Friday. We do take special extra classes also in case of any exams or something like that. uh, there are test series for the class 11 batch. Exam preparation also is there. For class 12th also there is a test series, and very soon we are going to come up with the humanities also. We will get the alerts on the right time. All right. Like I told you, only there are two days left for the creative corner, and you can get into it and just make sure that you enroll for the same. That's Vedic math, doodling, public speaking, and other features, magic tricks, etc. Uh, how do you get the access? It's very simple. You have to just get the plus subscription. You will have all the creative courses in your CBSE goal, and you can access the unlimited subscription. All right. Yes, there is a plus platform, and there is also an iconic platform for which you have interactive live classes with a personal mentor. All right. Yes, you have a study planner. So these are the extra features which have recently been launched. You can go ahead and have a look at it. You can use my referral code and get a 10% off on any of the subscription which you take, right from 1 to 3 to 6 months to 12 months and to 18 months, continuing up to 24 months. Uh, you know the referral code. Yes, it is Urmi Live. You can take the same code even for your iconic subscription. You can use the referral and get a discount over it. Same. Very soon, uh, they have the Creative Corner subscription also, which is included in this. So yes, go ahead. And what are you waiting for? All right. Now starting with the chapter, the demographic structure of Indian society. Before this, also we had a word with this, on this chapter, that what exactly is demography. Also for your class 12th exam, this chapter maximum questions are going to come from here, be it be a 1 mark question or 2 marks question, or maybe a lengthy question. The demographic chapter is very important, and you guys have to make sure that at least you learn the boxes very nicely. Okay, there are the different boxes are given in your book with definitions or examples. So make sure that you do this, which is very important, because there are questions. If you've seen the sample paper is already done, uh, there are questions which have already come from the boxes as well. Okay, so make sure that you go through all the boxes and don't miss out on any of them. Quickly moving, demography is basically the systematic study of population of a country, area, or community. Please remember that it has to do a lot with numbers and the place. Okay, it can be the area, community, society, country, etc. Very good afternoon, Ankit. Welcome, beta. Yes. So coming back, systematic study of population of a country, area, community. All right. This is basically composed of two words, that is demos, that is people, and graphine, which is meaning describe. Okay, which have come from the Greek origin, and this was also there in your sample paper. So this is also very important for you to know that what is the meaning and what are the words coming from, and where are they derived from. Because as I told you that it has come from, it has even come in the sample paper, which has been released by the CBSE, and we are going to do a practice of the sample papers also in the month of November. So in case you are yet to enroll, please go download the learning app, follow me on my Unacademy profile, and enroll to the courses, because it's better than, better late than never. All right. Demography, on the other hand, is basically known as the systematic study of population. All right. Uh, so the term is of Greek origin and is composed of the two words, that is demos, people, and graphine, which means um, describe, which is implying to description of people. Okay, demography studies the trends and processes associated with the population, which is including size, pattern, birth, death, migration, that is location of one person from one place to another person. Okay, and it can be of men, women, or different age groups also. Now when I say age groups, it can be right from the infant to the people who are at their late 60s or late 70s or late 80s. Why? Because unless you have the right way or right unless you have a right reading of population, it becomes very difficult for you. For example, census. If you want to say, for example, census, how will you understand the entire demographic structure if you do not know the census? Okay, it is very important for you to understand that census is it is very important. So that is the reason census plays an important role. Moving to the next one, this field, why is it important? Okay, there are different varieties of demography. When I say varieties, that includes formal, which is a large base. Okay, including the formal demography. Now formal basically has a quantitative field. Okay, basically quantitative here, you can, okay, again go back and think that it is referring to the numbers. Okay, it is basically the number games, and yes, it is quantitative field. Whereas the social demography, it focuses on the social, economic, and political aspects of the population. Now, it can be, norms and values, rules and regulation, uh, basic government policies, and derivatories, etc. All demographic structures are basically based on the process of counting and enumeration. This is very important for you to know because this is a fact finding process, and without the data, you can never define what the demographic structure looks like. So, this is the second thing. Moving to the next one, I told you the example of the census survey. That if you do not have a census, you cannot read what demography and the structure and population is. This involves a systematic collection of data of people residing within a specified territory. Now, this is done state-wise. This is done country-wise. That is how you can differ and differentiate between the state populations and the country's population on a whole. That is the reason this field is having a utmost important and is very special in every way. Not just this, okay, this field is also special uh, in terms of the importance of sociology. Okay, no questions. In case you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, moving back, demography is basically a field of the social importance of sociology. Why? Because see, this is also successfully established itself as a discipline, uh, in the academic discipline, as I told you. Okay, and there are two different processes which has happened to take place at roughly the same time in Europe during the colonialism, during the later half of the 18th century. Okay, please make sure you remember the centuries because uh, I am definitely sure that this would be one confusing thing which you will be you'll really tossing around when the exams come. So make sure that early, later, you remember the centuries. Okay, the formation of the nation states. Okay, as the principle of political organization and the beginnings of modern science of the statistics. This played a major role as well. Okay, now, the state had begun to expand its role, okay, function. It also had, for instance, which has begun to active interest in the development of early forms of public health management, policing, and maintenance of law and order. Okay. Now, economic policies which were related to agriculture and industry or taxation and revenue generation, of course, These were also a part of the demographic structure in terms of the governance of cities. Okay, this new and constantly expanding sphere of the state activity, it actually required systematic regular collection of the statistics, because you can see the statistics sometimes go down, then come up, then go down, etc. And this basically was the quantitative data on various aspects of the population and the economy. And as I told you, sociology has a major role with economics because both of them are an interwoven discipline. So please remember this fact. Now, why is it why is that it is important? See, it is very important because of the planning and implementation of the state policies. If you have the numbers, then it becomes very difficult, very easy for you to understand that, okay, what is the birth rate, what is the mortality, what is the death rate, uh, how many people are retired, how many people are working, how many people are contributing towards the tax paying, how many people are contributing towards the economy, especially those for the economic development, for the general public welfare. This is very important. Okay, but when they first emerged, okay, social statistics also provided a very strong justification for the new discipline of sociology because it was just streamlined. So it started, and that is the reason it was very important, and it was justified that yes, this field and stream is very important. And how? Okay, now, why is demography important? Because of the aggregate statistics. Okay, there were numerical characteristics which refer to, large collectively consisting of millions of people, not thousand, not lakhs, millions of people. Okay, this was a social phenomena. Okay, now what was the argument? Of course, even though the country level or the state level statistics like the number of deaths per thousand population or the death rate which were made up by the aggregating or adding up, okay, which was one by one, one by one, one by one, adding up, individual death and the death rate itself was a social phenomena. It had to be explained at a social level. Otherwise, how will we, try to understand the entire thing? That is the reason it plays a very important role. And how? Now, there was a theory of Emily Durkheim's study which explained the variation in suicide rates. Now, it is there even in your book that how Durkheim argued that the rate of suicide, that is the number of suicides per 100,000 population, had to be explained by the social causes, even though particularly instance of suicide may have involved reasons, okay, to that individual of his or her circumstances. Sometimes a distinction is made, okay, between a formal demography and a broader field of population study. So this was also there, which was very important for us to understand. And how? Okay, yes, there were two different forms. I told you, first is formal and the second one is social. Formal was more on the quantitative, social was more on social and political and economic aspects. Okay, so remember two types. Okay, formal, of course, see the it concerned of measurements, components of population change. Very simple. It was more focused on the quantitative approach. Okay, it focused more on the quantitative approach, whereas social, on the other hand, focuses on the social processes, the structures which regulated the demographic process. For example, they wanted to see, trace the social reasons that was accounting the population trend. Okay, so this was another factor which was very important and which played a major role. All right. Now, there were few theories, okay, now there were some theories and concepts in demography from which the Malthusian theory was absolutely important of the population growth. Now, why? Among the most famous theories of demography, this was one which was associated with the English political economist Thomas Robert Malthus. Okay, now this year and this name you have to remember because this can come definitely that who was behind or who coined the entire theory of population growth. Okay, this was named as Malthusian theory. Why? Because of the political economist. Please don't confuse it with a sociologist. Because of the English political economist Thomas Robert Malthus. Okay, remember the name, remember the year. This plays a very important role. Okay, what did he say? He simply said the theory of population growth outlined the essay of population. Okay, his simple fact was explaining that humanity is condemned to live in poverty forever because the growth of agricultural production always was overtaken by the population growth. Okay, he felt that it is not going to be changed. So this was the major point of concern of Malthusian theory. And the next thing which he said, that it was basically based on arithmetic progression. Why? because he said the population, while it rises in the geometric progression, that is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc., agricultural production can only grow in the arithmetic progression, that is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, because the growth of population always outstrips growth in the production and subsistence. Okay, now he also said that unfortunately humanity has only a limited ability to voluntarily reduce the population of its group. Okay, now there were preventive checks. Okay, now you calculate that how it was being calculated in terms of arithmetic progression, such as postponing marriage or practicing sexual abstinence or celibacy, leading to population in control. Okay, so what he said, that it's better that people don't get married, people don't have children, people don't have to get into poverty, because that is how the population might stop. Simple fact. So his basic idea of population theory was into the positive checks. Now came the positive checks and the concepts. Malthus also believed that therefore the positive checks of the population growth in the form of famines or diseases. Now famines, of course, as we call in Hindi, bhukmari. Okay, people die due to hunger. These things were inevitable because they were nature's way of dealing with the imbalance between food supply and increase in population, which made a majority of sense here. Why? Because if your food quantity is less, okay, and if your population is more, okay, of course there will be an imbalance here and here, and that is how your population graph will go up and down, and hence positive checks were important. Now, his theory was very influential for a very long time, but it was very challenged, and people criticized and questioned his theory, and they claimed that economic growth could outstrip the population growth. How? Birth rights were declined. Okay, epidemic diseases, they were outbreaked. All right. Of course, Malthus' predictions were proved false because both food production and the standard of living continued to rise despite the rapid growth of population. Both of them rise. So, of course, his theory was challenged, and Malthus was also being questioned, and people have claimed that there was economic growth which could outstrip the population growth. Now, he was criticized by the liberal and the Marxist scholars. Okay, why? Because of the simple fact for asserting that poverty was caused by population growth. Critics basically argued that the problems like poverty and starvation were caused by the unequal distribution of economic resources rather than the population growth. Simple facts, okay? And very unjust social system allowed a very wealthy and privileged minority to live in luxury while the vast majority of the people were forced to live in poverty. So this was another factor which played a very important and yet a tricky card. Okay, and thus it was also counted very important in every form, every way. Yeah. There came the theory of the demographic transition. This is another important aspect of this chapter which you have to learn properly, because this can come, and this is also a question you can be probably asked to write a short note on. You can ask to just define what the theory of demographic transition was and who brought in the concept, etc. This theory also came in the theory of demographic transition. Okay, this suggested that population growth is linked with the overall development, the economic development, and that every society follows a very typical and what we call can be a common platform or a pattern of development which is related to the population growth. So here we have spoken about pattern. Now the theory of demographic transition was more about the patterns of population growth. What was it? There were three basics of phases which were of population growth. First stage was the low population growth in the society, which had the underdeveloped and the technologically backward. Okay, in this case, growth rates are low because both the death and birth rates are very high. So what was the difference? Net growth, if you might say. Okay, the last stage basically is also one of the low growth, but in that the developed society, both the birth rate and the death rate level had been reduced. Common, okay, in the stage. And second one, it was also high. Third one, it was there, but there was a balance. Okay, there was a balance. The rate have been reduced. And that basically was the last stage. So there were three phases of the population growth. Okay, this you have to remember. Explosion, on the other hand, okay, the population explosion, on the other hand, happens only because of the death rates, which are brought down relatively very quickly through the advanced methods of the disease, that is control, public health, better nutrition. However, it really takes longer for the society to adjust to change and alter its reproductive behavior, which was evolving, during the period of poverty, high death rates, to suit the new situation of relatively prosperity and the longer lifespans. Now, this was the transition which was affected in the Western Europe during the late 19th and the 20th century. So remember that post-colonialism and nearby the concept of industrialization and modernization, all these things slowly and steadily developed and came into picture. Okay, this also was that the birth rate of a country is high, and also the death rate is low because availability of health and medical facilities. So this was population explosion. In one words, if they ask you that write, or you can say that write this for section B, write this question, define what is population explosion in 30 words. Then you have to explain. Imagine they can give you a fill in the blanks. Dash is the number of live births per thousand population, birth rate. This can come for fill in the blanks also. Death rate, number of deaths per thousand population, which is also called as the mortality rate. Now you have to know these glossary terms because these are very important. Okay. Any questions so far? Moving to the next one, there were also some common concepts and indicators. Okay, now most demographic concepts are expressed at the rates and ratios. Okay, they involve two numbers. One of these numbers were of the particular statistic that was calculated for a specific geographical unit. Okay, the other number provides a standard of comparison for both of them. Okay, example, birth rate and the total number of live births in a particular area or a region or an entire country, okay, or a state, district, etc. during a specific time or period, usually a year, which was divided by the total population of the area in the thousands. Okay, so this was one of the important facets which played another important role, okay, in the common concepts and the indicators of the population growth. The theory, now these are few extra notes which I have always given. Even in the plus class, I always make sure that I give you one liners or points or some notes kind of things which you need to know, which helps you. Okay, uh, so see, theory of demographic transition, if you basically see how to split it, it is nothing but the population which is moving from the underdeveloped to the developed countries. Three stages we discussed: primitive, second, developed. Examples are also given. Okay, so I would advise that whatever your NCRT CBSE curriculum books have there and what we have discussed in the previous slides, they are all from the book, and they are all. I always make sure that I give you the slides are from the CBSE textbook itself, so that there's nothing extra, there's nothing less, and absolutely whatever is there in the book, you simply go through it, the concept, learn about it, know the examples, and write it. That's going to be enough for you to score well and ace good in examinations. All right. Uh, yes, I told you birth rate and death rate in India in the 1907 and 2017, of course, the census. After that, epidemic diseases, global influenzas during the pandemic. Okay, now pandemic was a term which is not just used now, but it was used earlier also. Okay, when there was famines, when there was deaths and diseases, ages of 1918 and 1919. Please go ahead and look it in your book. Please read the boxes which are given and mentioned in the book, which is very, very, very important. As I tell you guys every time that the boxes are very important, so know about them. All right. So moving ahead, or the famines, now we will be listening about the age structure. Hope you guys can hear me and see me now. There was a power cut because Goa has hit a very bad cyclone. So since the morning only, it's raining very bad. Hello, Deepak. So it took time, and the light is back. All right, resuming. Famines as the structure, the population policy in India, these terms I have already discussed, and these are also very important, and you guys have to know. And as I told you already, that famines, they can just simply ask you what do you mean by famines. Then you'll have to describe that why and what causes famines. Uh, of course, explain about the the food, what do you call, demand and the population increasement. All right, all increasing. All of these, please explain properly. Please remember the size and growth of India's population. This, of course, India is the second most populous country after the world China. Okay, of course, now post the COVID scene might be, after the census of 2011, now when the census happens, of course, it is going to be really very different because of the COVID and the bad, tough times which we all have been having. So that is going to be very different, and I know it will take time. It will definitely take time to for us to come out of it. And yes, let's wait for it. The chart in your book, as I told you, gives you an idea about the population and growth during the 20th century. Please go through the same and make sure that you at least are well versed with the numbers and the figures, because as I told you, that they are CBSE is giving maximum one line and 2 marks questions from the boxes also in terms of the examples. So do not miss them. The 1901 and 2017 chart of the death rate and the birth rate in India. Okay, that how the epidemic of 18 to 19, 1918 to 1919 basically killed as many of 125 lakh people, but about 5% of the total population of India that time. Okay, please make sure you know about these things, as of course these are very 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 important, and do not miss the important points here. Okay, global influenza. Now, these are of course given in the box. These are just for your example, and I won't be explaining this because I've already explained it in the special class also and the plus class also. This was nothing but they've explained that how the global influenza of 1918. See, I have also mentioned the box number of the book which is given. So please don't ignore the boxes. I'm telling you again and again. Later on, you'll be telling that, ma'am, we didn't study the box and there was 2 line questions from the box. They can just ask you what was Spanish flu. Okay, Spanish flu of the pandemic, which was not known. Okay, but it was estimated from 2.5 to 5%, okay, of the human population. Please go through these diseases and the box says very well. Now, what exactly was this? See, and why did it happen? See, while the World War of One, it did not cause the flu. Okay, the close quarters and the mass movement of the troops, which thickened its spread, and due to which there were improvements. There were different kind of diseases like dengue, chikungunya epidemics, since which everything was reported in various parts of the country. So this was one another aspect. And now what exactly was this? It were the famines. Okay, nevertheless, please remember, it was also about starvation, death. There were different kind of n number of deaths which were reported in the country during this time, okay, from the backward regions. However, there were of course there were inadequate transportations, there were inadequate form of communication, uh, as well as inadequate efforts from different parts and state of the factors which were responsible for the famines. Not just food or the scarcity, but these things also played an important role why the famines were caused. Okay. However, there were different substantial improvements in the productivity of the Indian agriculture, especially through the expansion of irrigation, when everything tried to change. Okay, when there were different what do you call, improved means of communication, a vigorous relief which was which had different preventive measures by the state that have helped drastically to reduce deaths from the famine. These concepts were there and they were very important. So make sure that you don't miss these. All right, unlike the death rate and the birth rate, okay, the socio-cultural phenomena, they are relatively slow to change. Okay, so you have to be aware of the family size, You have to be aware of that how there were some states like Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and all of them, okay, how they basically managed to bring down their fertility rates, the total fertility rates. This played a major role here. So make sure that you know about it, all right? Age structure. Of course, we discussed this. This is also there. Uh, as with the fertility rates, India has a very young population. Okay, we all know that India has a very young population. Majority of the Indians tend to be young, and the average age is also so less that in terms of the other countries. Okay, so there were the tables which I told you even in the previous slide. See, when we go back, these are the tables which are already given in the book. Okay, table number 1. Similarly, there are more tables given, and in those tables they have mentioned that how there were the different times of two ends and change of the age spectrum. This is also a very important point, so make sure that you go through it. There is a chart number 5 which shows you the estimated population pyramid of UP, Kerala, basically in the year till 2026. Okay, note that there are differences of location of the widest parts of the pyramid of Kerala and UP. Okay, Uttar Pradesh. Now, the bias towards the younger age groups in age structure, of course, is believed to be an advantage in India. Why? Because, of course, although this needs to be very consciously exploited through appropriate policies, rules, and regulations and norms, but this was another aspect which meant, ends meet in different ways. Okay, the dividend which arised from fact of current generation of the working age people, which was relatively the large one, and is only a relatively small preceding generation to the old people to support. So this was another corner. Why the sex ratio declined? Okay, this was a very important indicator of the gender balance of the population. But when it inclined and when it, basically, what do you call, went down, okay, what alarmed the demographers basically was that how, it referred and the provisional child sex ratio decreased by 13 points and now it was 919. Okay, this was the basic alarm which demographers felt and came into their notice. Okay, there were different even for a greater cause of worry. Okay, when I say greater cause for worry, because of course, uh, Kerala, better with a better overall sex ratio, did not do well at 964. Well, the highest child ratio of 972 which was found in AP, Arunachal Pradesh. Please remember that these demographics know also about nutrition, education, awareness, maternal mortality. There were different facilities. Now, they weren't sure whether they were provided by all of them. These were very important. Okay, what were the factors responsible? Regional, the regional pattern of the low child sex ratio seemed to be important at this organization. There were several factors which were responsible. Female infanticide was the major one, that the girl killing child, the girl child killing, which is still there, which is still prevalent. Okay, practice of the female infanticide, which has been common in existing of so many regions in our country. Okay, of course, there were medical techniques and that by which you can know the sex of the baby. Okay, uh, through X-ray diagnostic survey device based on ultrasound technology, originally developed to identify the generic and other disorders in the fetus, which was being identified, and selectively they aborted the female fetus, that we don't want a girl child, so it's better we don't have it. you know so I think these were the major causes and concerns which everyone faced and played a very important role. Of course, you should know this because this also affected the per capita income and the child sex ratio of the country, of the states also. Okay. To wrap up very soon, the in the long run, solution of these problems to maybe to prosper the families or to have maybe one child or lesser children, family planning, all of it. Okay, a government of India came up with different programs like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Okay, this can prove to be an important policy to increase the child sex ratio in country. Now you will say that how many, ma'am, did they were there any effects, did it really bring a change? Yes, To some extent, yes, it did bring change. Even if you consider it to be a 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, it did bring some changes in terms of regulation and prevention of the misuse which were happening earlier. Okay, so these were the policies which uh, brought a change. Literacy was one feature which had enormous effect and which was needed to ensure that literacy of the new generations, which only was the beginning, okay, to be a smaller number than the past. Okay, this played an important role. It varied considerably across the genders, regions, social groups. As we can see it from table in which they have mentioned now, 16.3 was the less literacy rate for men. Okay, this was basically a prerequisite to empowerment. Please remember again and again, this is a very important short note on. Also, they can say that simply, what do you mean by literacy? Or they can say fill in the blank. Dash as a prerequisite, requisite, or to education in an instrument of empowerment. What is it? Literacy. So yeah, either you can get a 1 mark, either you can get a 2 marks, or straight away you go for 6 and 8. You decide. Make sure you are very well known with the terms which are being mentioned in the box as well as in the concepts and sub-concepts. Okay. Uh, the rates also vary by social group, which were historically disadvantaged communities like the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. We all have been studying this constantly in sociology now, about the deprived classes, about the disadvantaged communities, which you can say in a better language. Uh, this really plays a major role. Okay, there are different states, for example, like Bihar, which is lagging far behind. Okay, in terms of literacy, there are variations in states. Inequalities in literacy rate are very special, okay, important, especially very important, because it definitely tends to reduce and reproduce the inequality across generations. Okay, uh, severe advantage here is that illiterate parents ensure that their children are well educated, but also, thus the reason is perpetuating the existing inequalities which they have seen, faced, and come across. Okay, the difference of rural and cultural difference, urban differences. Okay, urban population has been increasing, but it's the share is very steady. Okay, whereas significance of the agrarian way of life declines relative to the significance of industrial urban way of life. It is, of course, people from the villages are getting settled in the cities for a better life, better economic development, etc. Okay. The census also shows of India that how more people are living in the rural areas, but the population of urban area has definitely increased. So that is one paradox. That is one major key area which you have to go and read properly, because yes, the rural and urban differences play a major role uh, in different aspects, and hence it is very, very, very important. Okay. Agriculture, of course, was by far the largest contributor of the country's total economic production, but today it only contributes 1/6 of the gross domestic product, that's the GDP. Okay, while the majority of our people live in the rural areas and make their living out of the agriculture, still the relative economic value of what they produce have fallen very drastically here, very drastically. Okay, rural people are definitely increasing and engaged in non-farming activities, occupation, for example, transport, business enterprise, craft manufacturing, all these things. But even if they are close enough, they might definitely travel daily to the nearest urban center to work while they continue to live in the village. They are okay with the wear and tear, but yes, they still continue to live in the village. Okay. Mass media, of course, it has played a major role because slowly and steadily radio came into picture. The flow of rural to urban migration, we saw how it is accelerated through the continuous decline of common property resources like ponds, forests, grazing lands, etc. Uh, yes, even in the past, rural areas were really beyond the reach of market forces. Today, they are more closely integrated to the consumer market because of mass media and better communication. This plays a very important role. And yes, transit, they have basically bridged a gap between rural and urban areas in terms of sharing news, happenings, uh, discussing, debating, conflict, managing, etc. Okay, so these have basically improved the life, but also there are certain things in the market that they used to get free, but for example, fuel, fodder, supplementary food items, etc. But then the hardship increases; they start increasing. Why? Because it was worsened by the fact that opportunities of earning cash income, which are very limited in the villages, you know, so that is the reason people are moving outside, settling there, and things are very different. Okay, so urbanization is an important concept, and clearly the larger cities of India are growing at such rapid rate that the infrastructure can hardly keep any pace. The balance, okay, and thus in terms of political power and dynamics in our country, rural areas still remain a very decisive force. Is of course very, very, very decisive force. Okay, so yes, family planning is the concept in which is population policy in India. This policy took the concrete form of national population planning program. Why? Broad objectives of the program remain the same: to try to influence the rate and pattern of the population growth of our socially desirable direction, which controlled the people, methods, health standards, increased awareness in the people. And over the past half century of India, there were many significant changes which has the credit in the field of population, and this was one of them. This was one of them. So yes, it was also renamed as the, which sorry, it also faced a very setback during the years, which had a national emergency. Of course, during this time, the government tried to intensify the effort and to bring down the growth rate of population by introducing a coercive program of mass sterilization. This was another facet which the government brought into notice without being passed by a parliament which was already in force. Okay, so this was the family planning program which suffered a major setback during the years of national emergency. The history of India's national family planning and welfare program also taught us how that the state can do a lot and try to create conditions for the demographic change or the variations in terms of social, quantitative, human fertility, cultural, uh, you know, uh, ultimately these were the major agendas which were based the set of social democratic objectives. Yeah. All right then. So we sum up, and I'm glad that I could complete this in one shot, and I'm hoping that this has helped you guys. And if there are any questions, please feel free, and you can ask me anything. Uh, Also, once again, guys, if you have yet not enrolled for the course, uh, February is the intimated and the time which is being decided for the examinations. Of course, CBSE has come up with a tentative date chart. Please do not delay. Go download the app on the Unacademy Learning app platform. Follow me on my profile. Attend special classes. Join the Telegram channel. Uh, we definitely give you all the alerts there. And whenever there's a special class or YouTube class, you will come to know. So I would request you to subscribe to the Unacademy Humanities channel, because whenever I am next up online, at least you will get an alert that whatever chapter I'm doing, and you can have your questions and we can discuss the same, which will help you in a longer run. And yeah, so I'm hoping that this class has helped you in every aspect. And if there are any questions, I'm here. You can feel free to ask me. And let me just check the phone.